What I'm doing today is making a cheese that I'm going to culture with Clabber. I've never done this before. It's an experiment. I thought about waiting until I have made the cheese and aged it and I'll see how it's doing. And I decided, nah, let's just do the experiment together. This part, the testing and experimenting is just an adventure. So what is Clabber? Clabber is when you take raw milk, set it out on the counter, and then it gets thick, and then you skim it off and culture new milk, and you just do that for several cycles as you would sourdough with sourdough starter, and eventually you get a thick, strong milk jello type thing that theoretically can culture any type of cheese, mesophilic, thermophilic. It is just your culture for cheese. They say that Clabber yields cheese that tastes delicious. It may take a longer aging time. They compared it to buttermilk cultured cheeses as opposed to kefir, like that buttermilky flavor. Here's the Clabber that I have. This one I set up last night at like 4 when I got home from work, and it is now 9 o'clock in the morning, so it hasn't even been 24 hours, and this is how thick it is. And so it's like thick like that. And it smells fabulous. It smells very similar or identical to the Gouda Divino when I add the LM57 culture that's supposed to give it that buttery flavor. This is unreal. It is so thick and creamy. I haven't tasted it yet, so I guess I should. It tastes fine, maybe. It's like Jell-O. It's tangy, a lot tangier than yogurt. It's not horrible. I'm basing the recipe on mastering artisan cheesemaking. It's towards the back, and she just calls it a hot water washed curd cheese. This is approximately 6.5 gallons of mostly whole milk. We're at 82 degrees. Let the heat go a little higher than I meant to. So this is the Clabber-Cultured. Shake it up. Now it's creamy. So it's like that. So now I'm going to add that to this milk. In this book, she always has you heat the milk. When you get to about 80 degrees, you add the cultures. When you add the cultures earlier, that's when it is like introducing the good bacteria that will counteract any bad bacteria that might be in the environment. And this is probably 1.5 cups for 6 gallons of milk, 6.5 gallons of milk. Exciting, I have no idea. It smells so buttery. I'm gonna bring the heat up to 90 degrees or right thereabouts. Now to feed this, to keep it going, to keep your starter going, you just add fresh milk. They say pasteurized or raw. I might make cheese tomorrow. I'll do a little bit extra just to make sure I have enough in case I do. And then this just sits on the counter. And if I'm not going to use it tomorrow, this could just be used like buttermilk. Just shake it up and put it in pancakes, muffins, whatever you want. In the book, it said when you add your culture, let it ripen for 45 minutes or so. I've heard that you don't need to ripen the milk. You can add the rennet right afterwards. I'm gonna let it go for maybe about 20 minutes, half an hour. We're at 88 degrees. She says 88 to 90. I'm gonna let this sit for about 20 minutes. Somebody in my cheese making group, a couple people actually do Clabber-Cultured cheeses. Kate at Venison for Dinner, she is doing this a lot, so I'm getting inspiration from her. In Kate's cheeses that she makes, one of them that she cultured with Clabber had holes in it from Propionic Shermani, naturally cultivated. This is why I did not add anything extra to this cheese. It's the most basic thing possible because I want to see what comes out of this Clabber culture. So adding in the rennet, it has cultured for 20 and been sitting here for probably about 10 since adding the calcium chloride. It is now changing. I don't know if you can see the difference as it rolls. It just gets a little different. It says the estimated time to wait for the rennet is about 45 minutes. I'm going to set it for 30 because I've been noticing that this milk has been setting up faster, which means, I don't know, but I think it just means it's strong. It's superhero milk. When Nelson Mandela was in hiding, some white friends in Johannesburg hid him. He was discovered because he put out milk to culture on the windowsill. It's an African drink and he missed that. And so in a white neighborhood, it stood out and he was arrested or almost arrested. I forget which. When my husband read that story, he was like, why would you set out milk to get rotten and to get sour like that? That's disgusting. It turns gross. It's horrible. He could not understand that idea. But now, after seeing me setting out raw milk and smelling it and seeing how it sets up into Clabber, it's totally different. It's not pasteurized milk. That turns rancid. Raw milk is delicious. It turns buttery and rich. It's totally different. So now we're like, okay, Nelson, we understand your drink. It makes sense. Dipping down in. It's pretty firm. I'm going to give it another 10. I think it could handle just a little bit more. It just feels a little bit soft. And yeah, it feels a little bit firmer right now. I'm going to cut this into 3/8 inch cubes. I could probably do this with a whisk, but I want them to be a little bit bigger than what they would get to be with a whisk. The smell of this is amazing. It smells of butter. It's like a cheese when you have put like LM57 in, that buttery, rich smell. It is kind of amazing. Dare I hope? Ooh. Okay, 5 minutes to let the curds heal. So now I'm going to begin stirring the curd gently for 20 minutes. Just breaking up the big lumps, working it in. All right, I'm going to continue to do this, and I am going to read my book. This is The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich, and it's keeping me entertained. The curds are feeling great. They're pretty much cut up. This is all right around 90 degrees. Here's what it looks like. Soft. So now I'm going to let this sit for 5 minutes so the curds sink to the bottom and let them heal a little bit. And then I'm going to remove 25% of the whey, and we're going to start washing it. So right now the temperature is, oh, it dropped, about 86 degrees. So the goal is to remove a quarter of the whey, add back in 160-degree water over the course of 10 minutes, and raise it to 101 degrees. So it is going to jump about 14, 15 degrees in 10 minutes. So it's a hotter wash than normal. So I'm making sure it's really hot water. Hot tap water is 113. It's only 140. I'm gonna put in more boiling water once this next batch heats up. In the meantime, let's take off the whey. That's about 1/5. I'm gonna start washing it and then I'll skim off more if I need to. We'll see. From what I read about Clabber-Cultured, if you want to save this whey to culture your next batch of cheese, like you're making cheese tomorrow, you would put in 1/4 cup of whey per gallon of milk to culture the cheese. You can do that with, I think, almost any cheese though, with whatever whey you have left over. Use it as long as you use it frequently. So we'll see how hot this is. 153. I'm gonna say that's close enough. I'm gonna heat up more water in case I need more than this. Yeah, get a little bit more here. So now over the course of 10 minutes, we're gonna add almost 160-degree water and try to bring it up slowly. It's like a cup. Stop, 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 stop. So I'm quickly stirring that in. So I feel that it's stable and I don't feel any more cold spots. I'm still getting a lot of cold spots. There's a big curd. Same thing. Yeah. Ah. Not too much. Yep. We're at about 93 degrees. Go ahead. It's easier to stir now. There's more liquid. A little bit more. Yeah. Stop. You're dripping all over the floor. Curds are getting a good deal smaller. Rennet says we're at 100.6, and we've been stirring this for 7 minutes. So I'm doing it a little bit too fast, I guess. I'll hold it like this for another minute or two, and then we'll add the last little bit. Since we're right at like 1 more degree to go, and we have not yet reached the level of where the whey had been before, we need to go up a little bit more. So we need to increase the amount of water that we're adding. So I'm going to use like the tap water that was like 112 degrees or something, and add a bigger glug of that to bring it up the last little bit, so we get the right amount of washing to these curds. I think that's right where we were, but it might have gotten too hot. We'll see. It's 100.9. It won't go to the final degree, and we're right at the mark. Just gonna add a little splash of hot water yet, and then we'll be good. There we go. We're at 101. So now it's another 15 to 20 minutes of just stirring this. Here's what the squeeze test is like at the beginning of the stir process. It's holding together. Whoops. So it's going to get a little bit more firm, a little bit better knitted in these next 15, 20 minutes. So one more. It holds together, but it is, you can still see it's ruffled there, and it crumbles apart pretty quickly. So I want to get it a little bit firmer. Curds feel springy and small and shrunk and light. They're like that. You can see how much they have changed. Squeeze them, and they're holding up. They're just that much more clingy. They still break apart nicely. So that's them. I've been eating this like the whole way through. I keep picking out curds and eating them. They're so yummy. Yeah, I'm pleased. It looks great. First, I'm going to pour some over this cheesecloth and get this warmed up. Going to get another bucket. I wonder if I can pour this. My son's coming up. Hang on. Maybe I could do it myself. No, I'm not going to try. It's way too heavy. Are you coming? Wait, hang on. You got it? You holding the whole thing? I'm going to let go. Don't let anything come out. It's really yummy. Wash the water. Okay. Thank you. Pre-lunch snack. It's delicious. So there's the curds. I'm just going to lift them in and kind of mush them down, and it's probably going to be too much, but we'll do our best. Actually, this might fit. Maybe not. This is going to be one heck of a full cheese again. What is it with this? This milk is like really loaded. So I'm starting this out at a light pressure, right around 20 pounds. I'll keep readjusting it to make sure the follower is going down in properly. And then I'll flip it, and I'll just keep it going at a light pressure and then increasing to a little bit heavier. So there's no real science to this, so I might not leave instructions. I might not even film every time. Well, I'll film when I flip so you can see how it's knitting together. But it is 12 o'clock now, and I'm going to put this in the brine at bedtime. So I know right now that I'm going to be done by bedtime. It's gone down just a little bit around the lip. Beginning to knit together. It's still fairly loose. I think it smells good. And now I'm pressing it at right around 30 pounds of pressure for probably a couple hours, and then I'll come back and change it again. Okay, just home from a walk. I'm gonna quick turn this over. There is a little smell like that funky heavy cloyingness that I would often smell with kefir-cultured cheeses. So I'm a little bit worried. Very mild, but I don't like it. It's beginning to knit together, but not very well. I'm going to press it quite a bit harder because the curd is pretty open. I want to show you real quick the Clabber that I poured into the dirty jar yesterday, the fresh milk, and show you how it turned out. Right here, this is what it is now. That's how solid it is. I am not going to be making any more Clabber-Cultured cheeses right now. I want to see how this one turns out first. So I'm just going to put this in the fridge and use it for buttermilk or feed it to the pigs if I don't want it. If this cheese does work out, then I will start a new Clabber-Culture and show you from the very beginning and play around with that some more. Smells perfectly neutral and good. I'm heading out for about 4 days, and this is the Clabber-Cultured cheese that is air drying, and I want to vac-pack it, but not quite yet. I think it just needs a little bit more time. I'm going to put it in this bowl. Touches it, but just barely. Now this is going to go into the downstairs bedroom. It's really cold in here. And really dirty, and there's a lot of cheese right here because I'm sorting things, cleaning out my cheese cave downstairs. So that's all cheeses and apples. I'll deal with this when I get back from my trip. Today I'm going to vac-pack this Clabber-Cultured cheese. I made it last Wednesday, and then I flipped it a couple times, and then I stuck it in this container, and my husband flipped it once, well, and then my son flipped it, and then my husband flipped it again, so it was a little bit confusing, but it doesn't really matter. There's some moisture in the bottom. It feels clammy, it feels nice, it does not feel dried. I think I might be better off doing these cheeses, like air drying them and putting them in the aging boxes, like to let them dry out if they feel better. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference. Anyway, it smells sweet and nice and mild. It's actually fairly hard. It looks gorgeous. It smells delicious. It looks delicious. I'm impressed. The paste is very smooth. Those are just mechanical holes. This might work. You never know. So that's actually a really good yield for a cheese, and it looks beautiful. So it's similar to a Gouda. I'll actually probably try it in a couple months because I want to know how this is, but it should be aged for 3 to 6 months. We'll find out if this works. Down to the cheese cave, 55 degrees for a couple months.